we intend to accomplish during this webinar. Let me just bring up my slides so you can see it, hopefully.
Hey, Thomas, there are some great participants. I'm just looking at the attendees list out there. By the way, this is Franz Kolb.
Yes.
In the state of Utah. I mean, you know, obviously Rick Homer and Mike Rhodes and Roshio is there. I mean, there are some great friends of Africa with us today.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. Let's see. Let's get the, Hannah, tell me if you can see my screen.
Not yet, but give me 1 second. I can pull it up myself.
So I think you want to make sure that you talk about the African organization, the African Business Council, you know, that you've got also.
Are you showing anything?
Nope, there's nothing up there yet.
Just 1 second.
Okay.
So sorry, everybody. This is not usually how these go.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, I can see what you're sharing.
Perfect.
Well, thank you again. So for a moment, we talked about who we are. Basically, for this opportunity of the Ghana growth and everything that is happening, I've put it in 3 very key points: opportunities, partnership, and really executing your most important goals. Next slide, please. So when we think about Africa, usually things that come to mind is the picture that you see to your left on your screen of a village, people carrying things on their head and whatnot. But I want to show you the transformation that is taking place in Africa right now. And this is specifically Ghana, because we're going to focus on that for a moment. But right to the bottom right square, there is a hotel, Movenpick, that is actually operating in Ghana today. So you can see the huge contracts when you look at what people think about, you know, Africa or Ghana from the National Geographic standpoint to the development that is taking place. And all these things are happening because of good governance. Essentially, good governance is a precondition for any economic and social development. But what is exciting, and throughout this presentation, is I'm going to share with you the future growth that is coming up in Africa. You look at untapped natural resources, youthful population, and growing middle class. Currently, the middle class of Africa is bigger than that of India. And India is 1.2 billion, and Africa is about 1 billion. So that's quite significant. Next slide, please. Most of you on this call perhaps will be asking yourself the question, is really Ghana or the continent of Africa ready for what I have? And what I'm going to present to you here are some very simple questions that you can ask yourself as you strategically position yourself to move to venture in the area of exploring opportunities in Ghana or Africa. You know, the nomads usually will walk from place to place to go and find water. But one day they just changed the question and said, how can we get the water to come to us? From that very simple question came irrigation system, and then brought up, you know, revolutionary development in everything that we have today. So a simple question can change the way we look at things and find solutions for those things. So the first thing you might want to ask yourself is, where are you really? Do you have a lot of products that you might want to expand to other places? Is your channels of distribution exhausted in the current place that you are? You can ask that questions. What benefits am I looking for in getting to this new place? What do we want out of the negotiation as we go to these places? You know, some people go in as a social and then economic or social enterprises. What is the type of contract I want to ensue when I go to that place? Or how do I get there? Well, throughout the presentation, we'll be talking to you about some of the governance, how to register businesses in Ghana. And then most importantly, how do you measure that you are actually receiving results for moving into these continental areas, for example, in Ghana? So I see this as a puzzle. Picking all the pieces and fitting them nicely together is what will really bring you to your goals and to your results. So these questions are very important as you consider your interest in going to Africa. Don't forget about the competition. It's not free lunch there. There are competitors there, so you have to have your business plan well planned and executed. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, opportunities, partnership, and execution. Let's go to the next slide. Here are the investment opportunities in Africa. I'm not going to bore you with reading everything, but it is critical to see the areas that fit well in your core competence and then find partnership in those areas to move your business or explore the opportunities in those different investment opportunities. Next slide. This is what I talked about, the growth that is happening. So from the, this information came from World Bank. And basically what it's telling us is the population growth as we move forward. Clearly, when you have products or you're looking for, workforce, you look for where the growth are going to be. More developed countries are going to look very flat into 2050. A huge place where you will see growth is the less developed countries. Just see the significant changes in the growth pattern for them. So this is the time to start sowing your seeds and developing your strategies for the continent of Africa. Let's go to the next slide. The African Chamber of Commerce of Utah, and I want to just give a quick shout out to France, who has been very instrumental in helping us continue working with the World Trade Center and the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and also Rick Homer, who is on this call. He's a founding member of this African Chamber of Commerce. We serve as a very strong arm for individuals that are interested in doing businesses in Africa. And the Chamber is here to support you, to bring you connections or partnerships. So if you need any questions, please feel free to go to the Chamber website. It's accu.org or .com, and you can join. Practically, you get most from this as you participate in the Chamber. Thanks. Let's go to the next slide. When I talk about partnership, I thought I should give you a list of very critical groups that you should really try to understand and partner with as you move it, particularly into the African market. Government officials are important, local business leaders, and another place that you'll find a lot of resources, the embassy commercial services. So you can go to the US Embassy in Ghana, meet with their commercial services. If you need any help, you can first start with the commercial service individuals here in the US, and they can make references to the different locations that you'll be going to, either Ghana or any part of Africa that you'll be serving. Language is very important, and Jonathan will talk a little bit more about that when we talk about culture, but two of the main languages that you might want to know will be French and English, which helps with the Francophone countries and the Anglo countries, we're all bordered, and it's very helpful. Let's go to the next slide. Now, before I end, I want to leave you with these 6 key points, and you can reflect on them more after this meeting. But when you get into Africa or into Ghana, the very most important thing is for them to feel that you have come to stay. You have come to be part of the growth of the nation. Why is this so important? Well, you all remember there's been colonialism, and most of the time the colonial people came and took and never replenished or gave back to the countries and left them destitute. And so people become very suspicious when you go and want to establish business. You have to act locally. You have to look at this market through a local lens and have a local act or actor. And it's so important to also make sure that build something in the community. I want to stress again, the community commitment. It's a clear indication that you have come to stay. So you build the relationships, be proactive with your proposals. Most of the Africans will not be the ones coming to ask you what you can give them, but it's so important you can do the push, basically go in with your proposal and proactively look for ways to make your business flourish or the environment grow to support whatever you are looking for. Partnership with schools, very, very important. As long as they know that you are in for the long haul, the support that they will give you will be just tremendous. Let's go to the final slide here. So what I want you to take away from this as we discuss the other pieces of the conversation is know what you're about, understand the perceived value of the people such that you can act locally, partner for success, and most importantly, win with mutual benefit. Win with mutual benefit. If you're going just looking for your own interests alone, I tell you, you'll be very disappointed and will not meet your most important goals. So to that, I want us to segue to Jonathan, where he will tell you a little bit about the culture of Ghana, and then we'll talk about some compliance and things like that. If you have any questions for me, I think the plan here is to ask questions at the end such that we can have the presenters give the presentation. So thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Thomas. How are you doing, my friends? Hey, it's so good to see a whole bunch of you guys on the webinar this morning. Hey, technology challenges happens, and we live with it. You know, when life gives you lemon, you make 13 different meals out of it, lemonade and other things out of it. Just wanted to talk about a couple of areas. And these areas, these are the takeaways from my conversation, my short conversation with you. And that is the culture, the importance of culture in doing business. And then I'm going to talk to you about the opportunities that we have when it comes to the tourism aspect of things. And so, you know what? The bottom line is Ghana is a land of rich culture and traditions. You cannot go to Ghana and be in a bubble and just walk out. You're gonna be missing a lot. So it comes down to, I'm going to strongly recommend that when you're doing business with Ghana, you get involved in the community, like Thomas referred to. Get involved, get to know the people, because when you look at an iceberg, the top, you only see just the top, but the bottom, you know the size of what's the ice underneath the water, okay, or below the water level. That is what I would suggest you get to do, get to know more of the society and the culture, and that will really help enhance your company and get you to meet the bottom line. Okay, so now, after this conversation, the four of us on the panel, we can help you to make any transition into Africa. We have all the opportunities. So let me briefly talk about the next slide, please. When you go to Ghana, there are certain things that we ought to know. Even though it's little, yet it's very important. And Ghanaians are very, very hospitable. They warm welcoming you. They love to visit with strangers. They welcome you with open arms. Okay, they do it because that's their nature. It's not because they're looking for anything from you. No, they love to have visitors. Okay, there's also the aspect of body language. In the United States, when we have meetings, when I meet you, I shake you full-blown shake, and then making eye contact with a smile, solid, firm handshake, right? Interesting enough, the culture of Africa and Ghana, we don't do that. We will shake your hand and you will, what we give you the wet noodles, okay? People will not look at you 100%. They look at you, take a mental picture, especially during a meeting, take a mental picture and look somewhere else, but they're still paying attention to what you are saying or what you're doing. So please do not take offense in people giving you the wet noodle shake or not 100% looking at you like we do in the United States. Now, greetings in Ghana is very important. And that is, you want to know how they're doing? Yes, they will tell you how they're doing, okay? When it comes to some of these cultural idiosyncrasies involve food. Please, when food is offered to you, please receive it with your right hand, because it's offensive to the Ghanaian to receive food with your left hand. It's also offensive to a Ghanaian for you to smell the food that they give you. It's very offensive, and it's something that we have to be mindful of. Okay. In the United States, when we sit in offices, you hardly ever hear about deity. In Ghana, it's part of their language because they are so spiritual in everything they do that you could be in that meeting and say, okay, we wanted to do this. I want to make sure that this happens. And one of the participants will say, Inshallah, or God will provide, or God will do this. You can hear the name of God a lot in the Ghanaian conversation. Please don't take offense in that. It's their spiritual background. That's the way they do it. Okay, now, the other aspect is the language. Unlike other places, the Ghanaian love and embraces you when you attempt to learn to speak their language. So it would be very great idea if you could take a step to even learn, something like, how are you doing? Or what's your name? Just learn those phrases, and that will help really gel the relationship that you building with the Ghanaian society. It's very important that we really get our expat into the community to be part of the fabric of the community. Please, next slide. Let me briefly talk about the tourism aspect of things. Tourism for the past decade, the government has been pushing very, very hard for us to develop it. So there's a great deal of opportunity in Ghana. Okay, when you look at cultural tourism, it's a huge, I don't know of any place in Africa, even the world, that has this rich culture on display. We have the festivals where the kings, we have kings who they dress up in gold ornaments, and it just to die for you. It's all, when you look at, you views or you attend some of these festivals, okay, we have that aspect that I'm going to strongly recommend that you get involved and get to really fall in love.
Jonathan,
yeah. Yes.
Jonathan, just to help you,
yeah,
the whole of last year, not this particular year, the year before, which was 2019,
yeah,
Ghana had a theme called the Year of Return,
yeah,
which was to allow all people living in the diaspora, all people who wanted to familiarize themselves with Ghana and its culture, had the opportunity to come down. So there were all these festivals, there were all these slave castles, there were all these old churches, the crocodile ponds, all of those things for the sightseeing. Yeah. It was fantastic. It was a great source of finance for the government, great source of revenue, actually, for the government. Yeah. And then actually, after that, the government has labeled moving forward what they call beyond the return.
Yes.
So it's actually still open for everybody who is still interested in cultural tourism, or who actually want to come and look at that ecosystem and see what they could do here by visiting the national parks, like the game reserves that are up north. I also see waterfalls, both the ones in the southern part and the northern part. So when it comes to culture, the government themselves have actually identified how to expand that frontier. So there are a lot of opportunities that anybody interested in that aspect can look into, especially on the Ghana Tourist Authority, what do you call
website.
it?
Yeah.
So no, sorry, just.
No, that's okay. That's part of our plan here. Anyways, and then we talk about the tourism authority is literally inviting investors to come in, because when you go to Appiah, you need a place to lodge. When you go to Boti Falls, you need a place to lodge. And sometimes some of these wonderful locations are in remote areas that you need a place to put your head down, and then you continue with your excursion the next day. So that's a business opportunity for individuals who are interested in tourism aspect of things. Now, we also have, it's been growing recently in the last 10, 12 years, ecotourism. I love bird watching, and my house this year alone in my house or my home in Ghana, I was able to count about 38, 40 different species of birds who are on their migratory route, and they all stop in my house. I have some bougainvillea and other plants, so it attracted all these birds. But along the coastal plains, we have about 15 locations that you can go in at the specific days and times to view the birds just flying through or migrating through the coastal plains of Ghana. So we have a lot to offer. When you have opportunity to go to northern Ghana, you can see places like what we call the slave market in Salaga and other places. So we have wonderful opportunity when it comes to tourism in Ghana. So let's join hands and go do something about it. You might have even heard about a place we call Cancun National Forest, where we walk on the canopies, 100 feet above ground. It's fantastic to be involved in Ghana and to be part of Ghana tourism. Could you please bring the last slide? And so my appeal to each and every one of you is, please take a piece of Ghana with you anytime you get to visit Ghana. The gates are open, our doors are open, our windows are open, and we will help you to do business in Ghana. So let me pass it on, my baton on to Kojo. I think Kojo has a few, what we call is to talk about compliance items to talk about.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Yeah.
So I'm Edmund Kojo Tetteh, and my assignment is to give you an overview of the regulatory framework and taxation in Ghana. So I'm going to dig in getting to build my slides. I picked up on topical issues that will be of concern to investors. And should it be that there's one or two that will still interest you, we'll be happy to answer you at the question session. Okay, so we'll be covering doing business in Ghana generally, and I'm going to stay focused on the tax points and the regulatory requirements as far as doing business in Ghana. Then we also look at debt funding, what are the pros and cons, the benefits, and what you need to know. Then we also look at equity funding, capital gains tax on exits, withholding taxes on service management, royalty payments. Then we get to transfer pricing, which is now bid on a global level, which is championed by OECD. So we just want you to know how far it's advanced in Ghana and what your compliance needs will be. Then we briefly also look at the general tax treaty network and impact of multilateral instruments. And basically, just for you to have an overview what it is and what you can take advantage of. Next slide, please. Okay, so I just want to clear the wind with this first slide, the 4 canons of taxation. I think that it's good to note that it's not different in as much as we have rights in the States or wherever in the world. Here in Ghana too, the principle of taxation is the same. So it's supposed to be efficient, convenient, certain, and fair. And it will interest you to know that the values of the Ghana Revenue Authority is integrity, fairness, and service. And if you have consultants like myself, like a few of my colleagues, will pin them to this. And my philosophy is you need not pay a penny more than you ought to pay. And with good tax planning, we would make sure that at least your investment is not shortchanged based on flouting on compliance. So basically, that is what this slide is supposed to prepare your minds for. So kindly let's go to the next slide. So we are looking at doing business in Ghana and the various vehicles of operation depending on what exactly you want to do in Ghana. It will interest you to note that based on what you want to do, it would be good you have good advice to pick up on the right vehicle of operation. So as far as we have direct foreign investments, which is going to be your case, we expect that you register those investments with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center before commencement. So there are some minimum capital contribution which I'll address in the slides to come, but what you need to know is that the Ghana Investment Promotion Center is a center that ensures that your investments are nurtured. So whatever you need from the center, whether it is land acquisition, industry information in agriculture, oil and gas, they are ready with a lot of information to assist. Also, they could also help you get work permits and all that without any stress. So depending on your level of investment, there are some concessions that you can get from the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, and it's a must do for all investments. So we have several vehicles of operation. We have the foreign register and the local register. And as far as the foreign register is concerned, we have what we call the registered office. And I want to touch on that quickly. So what the registered office means to say is that you could have a company in, say, the US and have a registered office in Ghana, not necessarily a full-blown incorporated office. It's sometimes called as a branch office, but just to make sure that we're on the same page, it's just to register that same foreign business in Ghana, and it's being registered in the foreign books. What this affords you, this vehicle of operation does not necessarily require you to do trading, which is to invoice and what have you. But what it affords you to do is that you are able to do market research. Should it be that you have a customer in Ghana that is interested in your goods and have made 1 or 2 purchases, you are able to use that to do a bit of facilitation and what have you, which means that you do not need to incorporate fully with the minimum capital requirement to really be in Ghana and have a good feel of what the business operations will be. So this is a good vehicle if you just want to check the market and see whether it is ready for whatever produce or goods that you're dealing. Then we have the limited by guarantee. Should it interest you that there's some movement, there's some cultural exchange that you are interested in pushing the agenda in Ghana, the vehicle to use is limited by guarantee. And we want to pick on these specific vehicle for the right purpose because of the tax implication. So before I go on the limited by guarantee, if you have a registered office, there is no tax obligation on you because the assumption is that it is going to be a satellite office which you are going to use as a cost center basically. It's not expected to generate income. So the tax implication is nil. But however, let me hasten to add that from the Ghana revenue point of view, regardless of your vehicle of operation, they would still look at the activities that you enter into. So should you even still do a registered office and you start invoicing, when they come for tax audit, they are going to charge you taxes on all those invoices you've issued. But as far as the GIPC Act is concerned, a registered office is not supposed to be used for trading. So should you want to come on non-governmental profits orientation, then you go by the limited by guarantee. And then again, that is also not an entity that is taxed basically. Once your activities are by nature non-for-profit, it is not taxable. So if it's any cultural exchange or anything of that nature, I recommend that you use a limited by guarantee because of the tax benefits. Then for what will interest the businessman, we have the limited liability, which is a full-blown incorporated business in Ghana, which is seen like any other local company once all the requirements are met. And the tax rate is ranging from between 20 to 30 or 35% based on the sector that you operate. But averagely, we have it being 25%. Do I have any question at this stage?
No. No.
Okay. Then we have the specialized industry, which is regulated like the bank, which also have their own expectations, but you can only do commencement after you have the necessary license from the regulator. Now, I'll talk briefly on the Ghana Free Zones Board. I think generally, like any free zone enclave, the expectation is that whatever production you do in country is going to be exported. And the minimum, you are looking at 70% of whatever goods and services you operate in is expected to be imported. And with that, you have a 10-year tax holiday, which means that you can operate in the country for 10 years without any tax. Now, thereafter, you'll be charged a corporate tax of the 25% on local sales and 15% with respect to export. And you need not be in a free zone enclave to enjoy the benefits of free zone. And just to also hasten to add, the Free Zone Board is a separate regulatory body from any other regulator. So if you are supposed to be in the free zone, then you need not be with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. So you register with the free zone, go through all the requirements and have the full benefits. Can we go to the next slide? So we quickly go into the minimum capital requirement. So for any joint venture, we are looking at a minimum capital foreign direct investment of $200,000, which could be contributed either in cash or capital goods. or a good combination of both cash and capital, depending on how your operations is going to be. And for you to satisfy the joint venture requirement, there's a local content participation of 10%, which should be held by a Ghanaian at all times. At no point in time should this 10% be transferred to a foreign partner. So at every point in time, to still keep your joint venture status, you need to have a local participation of 10%. Then to have a wholly owned foreign entity, say by your corporate structure, you just want to have a wholly owned foreign business, the minimum capital is $500,000, which could also be contributed in either cash or capital goods, or also a combination of both. Now, if you want to do trading, which is commerce, buy and sell, the minimum capital we are expecting is $1 million in either cash or capital goods, or a combination of both.
Next slide.
Okay, so as far as your capital contribution is concerned, I just want to make a quick note before I get on this slide. When you are doing the transfer in country, you need to state clearly that it is for equity. And a lot of people, just by this narration, it could be misconstrued for a different capital. And again, if you don't register the capital within some frame, it becomes a bit complicated for you to register the fund. So I just want to chip in that once you are ready to make the transfer, you need to state clearly on the Swift advice the intent, which should be capital or equity investment into Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah, now, do I have any questions?
I was thinking for the sake of time, so Samuel can add some more, just you know, any of our participants who would like to get more information on some of these things, a lot of these slides will be made available to each and every one of us. So I just wanted to put in this disclaimer here. So Samuel can jump in. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So can I, maybe for the purpose of bringing it all home, can I just wrap up in 5 minutes, then I have some more chipping?
Yeah.
Okay, so the slides will be available for you, but I'll go quickly to the tax environment. The one critical one that I want to bring to the fore is withholding taxes. Now, withholding taxes by its nature is not supposed to be borne by the company or the investor, but what it means is that if there is any transaction, you would need to withhold a percentage as withholding tax and pay to the government. Failure to do that, because the onus rests on you to do the withholding, you will be surcharged for it. So if you can move me to slide 20, I would want to just
Yes.
Slide 20.
Yeah, 20 is slide number 20.
No. So that. Yeah, that. So there are various rates that, depending on the transaction, you are supposed to withhold. And I would advise that, of course, all these cannot be committed in memory. So I advise that at least in the first 3 months of your operations in Ghana, you seek professional advice on every transaction that you want to enter into, so that you do not fall victim to this. I'm stressing on this because there was an unfortunate situation where an investor built a whole data center worth 10 million euros and noticed that he has not withheld tax on all the vendors. So imagine if it's an average of 10% on 10 million euros, that is an avoidable 1 million euros that could have increased or improved the payback of the project. So on this note, I'll leave it to Samuel to add anything, and should there be any questions and I have any slides to address, I'll pop it up and explain further.
Great. Thank you guys so much for that presentation. Just a couple of questions, and if you guys have questions as attendees, feel free to throw that in the chat. But just to kind of get us kicked off, and Franz,
So,
feel free to jump in.
Hannah, there's one more presentation by Samuel.
Oh my goodness, of course, I'm so sorry.
And I think we're going at a very good pace, so we'll have plenty of time for questions as well. Thank you. Yes, Samuel, go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Hannah, go on with what you have to do, Hannah. And then I'll take it out from there. I'm sure it's not going to take
No, you grab it, Samuel. Give your presentation and I'll wrap up with questions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's good evening here. I'm sure it's morning for you guys. As already told, my name is Samuel Mahama. And I'm a partner in Versus Legal and Advocacy. We are, in your part of the world, you say we are attorneys. In Ghana, we call ourselves lawyers. And in the UK, they call us solicitors. So our names keep changing. I just want to touch up briefly on registering and doing business in Ghana, registration of companies and doing business in Ghana. I actually on the side do represent an American company that does business in the energy sector in Ghana. It's actually based in Florida called Gulf South Forest Products. I initially started with another company that was called Bridgewell Resources. That was in Portland, Oregon. So doing business with an American company in Ghana, I have a fair idea. And I have the working knowledge of how your law concerning foreign corrupt practices also affect your style of doing business in our part of the world. Now, not to keep talking, I'm the only person who doesn't have a slide because I actually want to reach you with what I'm trying to say to you. I'm going to give you all of this from a lawyer standpoint on how to protect your investment and do your investment in Ghana.
Yeah.
When you decide to do a business in Ghana, there are two things that I would want you to look at before you jump. One is, do you want to set up fully in Ghana or you want to have just a presence in Ghana? I ask why do you want to set up fully in Ghana? It means you setting up a factory, you using the natural resources, and you going through the whole process of having a permanent presence in Ghana. And with that one, you have to go to a place called the Registrar General that actually has an online portal where you can pull off the registration forms to register whether it's going to be a distribution company, whether it's going to be a service provider, or whether it's going to be a manufacturing company. They have different fees, but those fees are not so much that should deter you from doing business in Ghana. In Ghana, you're required when you have a company to practice good governance structure, which means you must have a board of governors or a board of directors, and the whole structure has to be your company. So another thing that you would have to always have at the back of your mind is, if that is not the case, and you just want to have a presence, like what my people in Florida are doing, is, for example, you identify certain key sectors or certain key areas in Ghana that you want to supply to. And when you have those portions identified and you want to supply to, you find a way to make contact by probably coming down or reaching out to them to agree on certain terms how the supply is going to be done. And most of the time it's done by freight, cost freight and insurance and all of that. What it entails is that you, from your standpoint, will be looking at it by the way of having, like, let's say, an agent who you pay commissions to. So if you pay commissions to an agent, you don't have to worry yourself about this whole regulatory framework, taxes, and all of that. But still, you would have a presence over here, and you will still be able to boost your business. Earlier on this year, I was in February, just before Corona hit, there was an Enterprise Florida group that came to Ghana from the 5th of February to the 6th, where we had the opportunity of, they came in with a few franchises, they came in with a few business modules. Some were looking to settle in Ghana, others were looking to find agents and stuff. So it was a nice trade show that allowed them to allowed for us to showcase Ghana to them through the U.S. Commercial Service Department of the Commerce Department of the U.S. Embassy. It was a fantastic show because it gave the people that came down the first-hand opportunity to actually have a proper feel of Ghana, see how the weather feels like, because it's like, here is like Florida, it's sunny all day, and there are beaches. So you can have so much fun. And when it comes to doing business, there is competition. Don't get it twisted. There is competition, but there is ample opportunity for everybody to have a share of the cake. Let's say you're going into the extraction sector, which is the mining of the natural resources, gold, diamond, and all of that. There are massive untapped areas that we are yet to go into, which would involve most of them are capital intensive. So it depends on the proposal you're coming with. But when you want to go into the oil and gas and the natural resource sector, what you need to know is that per the rules and the constitution of Ghana, every mineral or every oil and gas, whatever found in the land belongs to the government. It doesn't belong to the individual, as it probably happens in the US, where if you find oil on your land, it belongs to you. In Ghana, when you do find it, the land belongs to the government. It no longer belongs to you. So these are a few things that shift the dynamics from what you know to what we know. On the general, I'm just trying to give you an overview of what to feel about Ghana. We're actually going to have our elections next week, Monday, to elect a new president for the next term of 4 years. It's not as bubbly as what you guys had over there from what we saw, but it's also going to be a keenly contested election, and it's fun. We are not like all the other African countries where it's a do or die affair. Ghanaians are very, very tolerant. We are happy. We are peace-loving people. We do our best to be hospitable to especially businesses that come in here. I can speak on authority and say we have businesses that are about maybe second or third generation. Jonathan, if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Second or third generation, and they are all FDIs. Their parents came in to settle over here in Ghana and have been doing business for this long, and the families are still going strong, and nobody has touched them. There's been no government, compulsory acquisition of businesses. We allow for the environment to be leveled and to be moved forward. One thing you need to have at the back of your mind, and I'm telling you this from the standpoint of a lawyer, the biggest businessman in Ghana is the government. Notwithstanding, there is ample opportunity in the private sector. The private sector is a bit dormant because we are now identifying certain sectors and we are now identifying new areas, especially in the service provision sector that we are trying to grow. So actually doing business here, anything that is innovative, anything that moves, for example, we are actually on an industrial drive right now, trying to refine raw materials before we send them out, because we used to send the raw logs out. But we've now identified that we cannot send the raw logs out. Let me call you back on the presentation. We have to identify that we have to send the raw logs out, and we even take the gold. We don't have a refinery in Ghana for gold. Funny enough, we found oil. We are drilling oil. Our oil refinery cannot refine the oil that we have. So we actually take the raw crude out to go refine it before it comes back to us as petrol and diesel. So in a nutshell, doing business in Ghana, there are a lot of opportunities. And most of the opportunities are trying to push on an industrial drive and move us from raw material based to finished products. So we can actually have expand our economic base and then also move in an industrial sector.
Let me add something to what Samuel just said. You know, in actuality, the Ghanaian system or the Ghana economy is trying to move into what we call the value chain system, basically going from production, processing, distribution,